I'm looking at my bank portal, and the balance says zero. Not low. Zero. $42,000, completely wiped out. I stared at that screen for 5 straight minutes waiting for it to be a glitch. It wasn't a glitch. My husband, Mark, didn't even try to hide it when I confronted him. He looked me dead in the eye and said my sister needed it more than we did. That was the exact second my marriage died. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just packed 2 bags, grabbed my dog, and drove away. If you're new here, subscribe. I post a new story every day. Because honestly, what happened over the next 48 hours is something I still can't fully wrap my head around. Let me back up for a second so you understand what that money was. That $42,000 wasn't joint marital fund money. It was an inheritance from my grandmother, saved over 6 years, specifically set aside for a down payment on a home or a genuine medical emergency. Mark knew this. We had explicitly agreed that account was off limits without both of our signatures. So when I logged into our joint checking to pay the utility bill and saw a transfer confirmation to my sister, Chloe, I felt the blood leave my face. I called Mark immediately. He was at work. I asked him point blank, "Did you move 42 grand out of the savings?" And he goes, and I quote, "Yeah, Chloe was about to lose her condo. Her business startup failed, and she was drowning in debt. We couldn't just let family drown." Wait, read that part again. We couldn't let family drown. He didn't ask me. He didn't consult me. He took money that wasn't even technically his to earn points with my sister. Now here's where I'd have lost it, but the narrator of this post kept her composure way better than I ever could. She asked him, "When were you planning on telling me?" Mark literally replied, "I knew you'd say no, so I just handled it. You'll get over it once she pays us back." Pays us back. Chloe has been starting a new business every 6 months for 5 years. She has never paid back a single cent she's borrowed from anyone. Would you have stayed in that house for even another hour? Let me know below, because I would have been out the door in 10 minutes. And that's exactly what she did. She hung up the phone, locked the dog in the car with the AC running, packed her essential documents, clothes, and laptop, and drove straight to an extended stay hotel. She blocked Mark's phone number. She blocked Chloe's number. And then, she called her mother-in-law, Susan. Now, calling your mother-in-law in the middle of a marital split sounds like a risky move, right? Usually, mothers take their son's side no matter what. But Susan is a no-nonsense woman who built her own accounting firm. She respects hard work, and she absolutely hates financial dishonesty. Our narrator calls Susan and simply says, "I left Mark. He took my entire $42,000 inheritance and gave it to Chloe without asking me." There was complete silence on the line for about 5 seconds. Then Susan asked one question: "Did he put his name on that inheritance account?" Narrator said, "No, but he forged my digital authorization to transfer it to our joint checking first, then wire it to her." I'll be honest, I didn't expect what came next. Susan didn't offer sympathy right away. She just said, "Stay where you are. I'm going to his office." While all of this was happening, Mark was still sending emails to her work address, acting like she was just throwing a temporary tantrum. He sent an email saying, "You're being extremely selfish. Family helps family." Chloe was crying on the phone to me yesterday. I mean, the sheer audacity to steal 42 grand and call the victim selfish. It makes my head spin. About an hour later, Susan calls back. She told the narrator to meet her at Mark's apartment, the home they shared. When the narrator walked up the driveway, she could hear the screaming from the sidewalk. Susan had driven straight to Mark's workplace, pulled him out of a team meeting, and forced him to drive back home with her. When they walked inside, Susan laid into him in a way he had clearly never experienced in his adult life. Susan was standing in the middle of the living room, pointing a finger directly in Mark's face, screaming at him at the top of her lungs. "You were a thief," Susan shouted. "You stole from your wife. You committed wire fraud to impress her lazy sister." Mark was cowering on the couch, trying to argue that he was just trying to be a good brother-in-law. Susan cut him off immediately. "You aren't a benefactor. You're a criminal. You put this family's reputation in the dirt, and if she sues you, I will personally fund her lawyer. Hearing his own mother lay down the law like that completely broke Mark's defensive front. He started stammering, trying to call Chloe to get the money back right then and there. But guess what? Chloe had already moved the funds into a private business account and refused to wire it back, claiming it was a gift. That was the final nail in the coffin. Mark realized in real time that he had destroyed his marriage, lost his mother's respect, and ruined his financial future for a sister-in-law who used him as a human ATM. The narrator didn't take him back. She retained a top divorce attorney the very next morning. Because the inheritance funds were separate property and illegally transferred, the lawyer filed an emergency motion to freeze Mark's personal assets and hold him accountable for full restitution during the divorce proceedings. Susan actually testified for the narrator during the initial legal hearings, confirming Mark's confession. Looking at this whole situation, it's a harsh reminder that boundaries aren't just suggestions. When someone shows you that they prioritize someone else's comfort over your fundamental security, believe them the first time. Money can be rebuilt, but trust once shattered at that level is dead on arrival. What would you have done if your partner gave away your life savings? Would you ever forgive them if their family stepped in? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for a new story every single day. I'll see you in the next one.